Welcome back. Time to bring in our panel. With us today, we have former state party chair for the Indiana Democrats, Robin Winston, and 2016 vice chair for the Indiana Trump campaign, Tony Samuel, along with former communications director for the Indiana Democrats, Jennifer Wagner-Chartier, and former GOP lawmaker, Mike Murphy. So state lawmakers are working on a new budget. We're also bracing for this budget battle in Washington this year. Mike, I'm going to start with you here. President Biden unveiling his budget plan this past week, though many Republicans say it's essentially dead on arrival in the House. Meantime, there's also a lot of talk about Social Security and Medicare and whether there'll be any proposals down the road to make cuts to many of those programs that people rely on.
Well, we have seen, first of all, we used to have a window of 1 year, election year, where nothing got done. That has now expanded to 2 years of nothing getting done. I fully expect the budget to be dead on arrival just for political purposes.
When do things get done this
Well,
day?
that's, maybe for 2 weeks after
window?
everybody gets
Right.
sworn in, maybe.
Yeah.
But I do think there was an interesting development in Nikki Haley coming out this week and saying that maybe the retirement age needs to be changed, maybe some benefits need to be changed.
And Pence hinted at the potential need to make Medicare
Yeah,
cuts down
exactly.
the road.
So I think some reality, some pragmatism is starting to emerge, and maybe some courage among Republican candidates, but we'll see.
Jennifer, can Republicans and Democrats find any compromise this year and avoid a government shutdown or worse, a default on our loans?
I hope so. That would be great. But I'm going to echo what Mike said. It's everything seems like it's constantly chaos, right? So Democrats say, here's my budget. Biden says, here's my budget. Here's what I want. It's going to cut the deficit by $3 trillion. Republicans say, oh, too many social programs. We need to cut more things, but they won't say what the things are. And then here we are at an impasse, right? And so I agree with Mike. I think that there has to be honest conversation about what we do want to cut, what we don't want to cut, what we can't afford, and what that looks like going forward.
We'll see what that looks like down the road. A lot of news in Washington this week. Meantime, you had Mitch McConnell's hospitalization, and also looming now this news out of the state of New York. Former President Trump invited to testify there, perhaps signaling the possibility of an indictment in the days ahead. Tony, what do you make of this news?
Well, this Justice Department is going to continue the harassment that we saw from the time he was running for president way back in 2015 and 2016, and they'll try to file charges. They'll try to indict him. I don't know that that'll happen, but that's their main mission, and we've seen it a bunch of different ways. Going back to your question about when will things get done, nothing has gotten done in a good way under this president, and now you see a $7 trillion budget with almost $5 trillion in new and expanded taxes, which is going to create a $50 trillion national deficit by the year 2033. It's just another in a long line of trying to destroy this country from this administration.
Robin, your response to that, and if there is an indictment in the days ahead, how might that impact the race for president?
Well, first off, I think there are communities all across Indiana that have benefited by the American Rescue Plan, by funding being made in our public schools to support teachers, by addressing the COVID crisis. So it's hard to believe that some people who say this president's done more in 2 years than any president in American history, people would say nothing's got done. On Trump, hey, it's up to New York. New York law requires you to inform the person under investigation that they may be indicted. Let's see how this plays out.
We'll see what happens there. Let's also talk about the political landscape here in Indiana. A pretty interesting back and forth this week between former White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain and Hammond Mayor Tom McDermott, who ran for Senate last year. Klain posted about next year's Senate race on Twitter, asking Indiana Democrats to find some great candidates. McDermott replied saying neither Klain nor national Democrats, quote, lifted a finger to help any Indiana Democrats in the last election, telling Klain to, quote, get lost, along with some other colorful language that he used there. Jennifer, what do you make of this back and forth and really the broader issues that your party faces right now trying to win statewide elections in Indiana? McDermott had expressed some of this same frustration last year right here in our town hall on the Senate race.
So Tom McDermott's going to Tom McDermott, right? We saw it during his campaign. This is who he is. It's how he wants to run. He loves to fight with people. Do I think that's particularly helpful for the future of the Democratic Party in our state? No, but it makes for good fodder for this show. Look, I think we will have a good candidate next year for governor and for Senate. I understand his frustration, right? I have only been in the minority as a Democrat in Indiana. It's not easy to raise money. It's not easy to run statewide. At the same time, we got to look forward. We got to move on.
Mike, there were a number of people this past week online calling on Klain himself to run, though he again reiterated what he told me in our interview with him last year, that that's not his role and that he isn't planning on running himself. Who might run in this race, and do you take Klain at his word there that he's not likely to run?
I don't think he will run. I mean, he just got off one of the toughest jobs in America for a Republican or a Democrat. He's been out of work now maybe 2 weeks max, and I think he deserves, like most people do, to chill for a while and enjoy life. So I don't think he will run. Now, the Democrats have done not a historically bad job of raising money, but a historically bad job of building a Democratic bench that can run when the opportunity occurs. John Wooden, my favorite quote of his, and when opportunity arrives, it's too late to prepare, and the Democrats have not been prepared for nearly 20 years now. Now, I love Tom McDermott. I always thought that when Jerry Dunbo retired from the legislature, there'd never be another colorful Democrat. Well, we have it, and I love Tom McDermott.
Robin, you certainly are close with both McDermott and Klain here. Do you take Klain at his word that he's not thinking of running, and what do you make of this criticism that he faced here from Tom McDermott this week?
I take him at his word, he's not running, and there's an old adage that said some of my friends are for that and some of my friends are against it. I'll always be with my friends. So that I don't know how this is going to play out. I certainly know that we do not do well by politics by television, and we need to get everybody together and work this out.
Have there been people trying to convince Klain to make a run?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, a lot of people are trying to do that. Yeah. And you got to remember, in compounding, leaving one of the toughest jobs, he just lost his mom. So, he's still focusing on those things too.
Yeah. So, Tony, from this vantage point, it certainly seems as if Jim Banks will be a tough candidate to beat. He's practically cleared the field already in terms of the Republican primary in the race for Senate.
Yeah, I don't know that we've ever seen somebody clear the field, a good way to put it, so quickly. And he's raising a lot of money. He's right on the issues. He's a great candidate. He's up and coming star in the Republican Party, and I think it'll be easy. What's difficult for the Democrats, they've got two races to look at, the Senate race, but also the governor's race, and you can't even name one for either of those.
Who might run in those races, Jennifer?
I mean, I think you've got Jennifer McCormick out there, obviously former Republican, now Democrat, looking at running for governor, and I really don't know in the Senate side.
Yeah, at this point, it's still something of a question mark, right? And that's part of what was illuminated in this conversation this week.
I think we should let one Democrat run for both the Senate and the governor's race, and see maybe they together they can cobble together a majority. But McCormick is a woman without a country. When you become a party switcher, your old party despises you, and your new party doesn't trust you because you're a party switcher.
A lot to discuss here in the coming months, no doubt, thanks to the panel. They'll be back here in a few minutes. Coming up, First Lady Jill Biden comes to Northwest Indiana to meet with college students at Ivy Tech. We'll show you what she and the students had to say about her visit coming up next.